Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Pastor Small. Just excited and grateful that you're sharing with the New Calvary Baptist Church YouTube channel. We want you to continue to subscribe, let other people know, have them sign on and be a part. Want you to take a look at what we believe is a very significant and powerful word for this season, and hopefully it's transformative, and hopefully it will continue to empower and enrich your life in this particular moment. But in this season, we still believe that God is in control, but we are trusting that God has a word for us, and that God is going to continue, even when we are offended, to continue to speak up for us as we speak up for ourselves. Unfortunately, I was just sharing with somebody, unfortunately, I got this shirt when Eric Gardner was executed by the New York City police, and it's unfortunate and tragic that I have to find ways, and I've discovered a way to wear it again. But we continue to symbolize and declare that despite what the world tries to do to us, we will continue to persevere and understand that God values us. So we hope you enjoyed this word. We hope this message blesses you, and we'll see you next time. Please let people know to subscribe and share with New Calvary. We'll see you next time. Peace.
For God, how we love you. God, how we thank you for this moment. We might hear from you. That as you speak to us, we might be encouraged. That our hearts might be revived. That we might be reminded what it is to be children of God. So speak to the hearts of your people. Let this word, God, speak truth. Let those who need to hear it may acknowledge your power and your presence. And God, whatever the word does for others, let it stir something in us. And we would be the children that you have called us to be. Bless this, your preacher, and allow your grace and mercy to work in this moment. Consecrate me now to thy service, Lord, by the power of thy grace divine. Let my soul look up with a steadfast hope, and let my will be lost in thine. It is in the wonderful and marvelous name of Jesus. People of God, ever say, Amen. I call your attention to Matthew's Gospel, chapter 18, verses 15 and 17. I apologize in advance. This will not be a sermon that is over by the hour, but it needs to be said. So I pray for your patience. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 and 17. They say, if your brother sins against you, go and show him his fault, just between the two of you. If he listens to you, you have won your brother over. But if he will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. But if he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, treat him as you would a pagan or a tax collector. I am offended. I am offended, America. You have offended me. I am offended by your blatant disregard for my humanity. I am offended that through your flawed interpretation of self-preservation and your contrived and ever so fragile sense of superiority, that the only conclusion you have come to is that I must be constantly oppressed and marginalized even unto death. I am offended That since the beginning, when you constructed the sinister plan to take my ancestors from the continent of Africa through the horrific and dastardly arrangement of the transatlantic slave trade and the demonic concoction that was chattel slavery in this country, you have constantly tried to remind me and others like me what you think of us. I am offended. I am offended by the horrific ways in which you attempted to break the psychological, emotional, and spiritual sense of who we are. I'm offended by your blatant disregard for my life and your assumption and minimization of your part in the process of my destruction. I am offended by the expectation of my servitude, the arrogance you display, and the sense of your appreciation I should have for simply just being here. I am constantly offended by your lack of understanding and seeming disinterest and concern. These feelings of offense are not imagined, mind you. These feelings of offense are not created in the mind of those who are misinformed. No, these offenses are legitimate. In fact, the offenses are the result of your own psychosis. The offenses come from your own disconnection from reality, America. Just this week alone, Amy Cooper, a white woman in Central Park, exercises her privilege and lies to the police and says there's an African-American man threatening her in the hopes that the police would come and do harm to him. In the same week, the presidential candidate, Joe Biden, thinks he is so familiar with African-Americans that he can try with a joke to decide and determine who is and who is not black. And in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a murderer dressed as a police officer puts his knee on the neck of brother George Floyd, and as he announces he cannot breathe, and he continues his pressure on his neck as 3 police officers watch until he is asphyxiated, loses consciousness, and dies later. I am offended. I am offended by your ambivalence when it comes to my life. I am offended when you tell me let the system handle it, when it's the system is the one that puts me in the position of execution in the first place. I am offended that you play these murderous snuff films on the television each night, on the news over and over and over and over again with no regard for what it means to be an African American in this country and to experience this psychological trauma on a daily basis. I am offended that you have the nerve to enjoy our cultural contributions in music, art, and other expressions, but despise and do not take seriously our internal ambition. I am offended that you, on your own personal fears and contrived insecurities, are protected or projected on us to create destruction and hatred at our own expense. I am offended by the perpetual shame you try to reinforce by suggesting the inadequacies are our own and not by the design of a system that literally sets us up to fail. I am offended that after 246 years of slavery, that after years of forced labor through the convict leasing system, after years of Jim Crow, after the systemic breakdown of the African-American community through the prison industrial complex, after ghettos and health and income disparities, you still act like this is not by design. I'm offended that you pretended like you don't know the difference between equality and equity. That you act like you are ignorant to what it means to have a head start in a race of life and means the opportunities only come to the prepared and not the economically fortunate. I am offended that you can't tell the difference between a knee that is down on a football field in protest and a knee that's on the neck of a human being. I am offended by your casual dismissal of what matters to me. I am offended that you believe that ontologically this is our plight, that this is somehow or another what we were destined to become, and this is what our future holds. I am offended that you blame us for the condition, and the truth is, it's our fault. When you speak up for yourself, it's disrespectful, or to defend yourself is out of order, that to correct you is incorrect, or that to acknowledge a wrong that you have done, or something that a mistake that you have made is somehow beneath you. I am offended. And when you say, it's not me, it's everybody else. I'm offended that there is some intangible boogeyman called racism that nobody can put their hands on. I'm offended that when you can't see your part in the system. I am offended that when you say that you're better than the rest of America because you got an African-American friend, or that it can't be you because you voted for Obama, or that you're doing your part because you watch Blackish. I am offended. You clutch your bag when you see me. I'm offended when you pause, when you look up and notice that I'm right there. I'm offended when you walk into the store, when I walk into the store and you motion to your co-workers to watch me throughout. I am offended when you call your children over to wipe their faces on the playground or to fix their clothes, when you see my children coming to play on the same jungle gym they're on. And I'm offended when you act like I don't notice. I'm offended that you don't see me. I'm offended that you believe that you are better than me. I am offended that you see a criminal, an angry black woman, a hostile and dangerous black man. I am offended that whenever you see my hand, you see a gun, a knife, a stick, or whatever is in it that includes my black skin. I'm offended that the weapon I carry makes me the suspect, but the weapon you carry gets you to the Michigan State House steps. I'm offended that Charlottesville can happen and the only person who gets arrested is a man who drives his car into a crowd and it's all seen as freedom of speech. This pandemic of the coronavirus has quarantined the world and people have been cooped up and exiled for some time, and your sensibilities and movements have been inconvenienced and disturbed for 3 months. Our sensibilities have been disturbed for 400 years, and with a straight face you have the nerve to compare the two and think somehow or another that makes us even. I am offended. I'm offended for Philando Castile and for Jordan Davis and for Eric Gardner and for Sean Brown and for Tamir Rice and for Breonna Taylor and for James Byrd and for Rodney King and for Stephon Clark and for Walter Scott and for William Chapman and for Oscar Grant and for Betty Jones and for Laquan McDonald and for Botham Jean and for Michael Brown and for Ahmaud Arbery and for Freddie Gray and for Sandra Bland and for Amadou Diallo and for Spencer McCain and for Trayvon Martin and for George Floyd and the thousands of others from slavery up until last night that have been lynched by the tyranny of your systemic oppression. And most of all, America, I am offended that you are offended about what I'm telling you. I'm offended that your cognitive dissonance causes you discomfort. That you don't give us the common courtesy to even recognize your shame. Your cowardice response is to go back to Africa. Go back to where you came from, as if the answer is not in the investment that my ancestors made in this country, and it somehow lies in the removal of my presence, rather than the acknowledgement and the recognition of your demonic action and your effort to at least have some corrective behavior. And before you turn me off, before you suggest that this is just the musings of another angry black man with no cause or concern, before you chalk this up and say that this is just hate speech so that you can make an excuse not to listen, before you call your African-American friend who's afraid to talk to you about race and racism and who have their own dissonance in the process and have convinced themselves that none of this is as serious as it seems. You know that African-American who would rather make you feel better than tell the truth about what's going on. Before you assume that this is simply done out of rage, I want to tell you this is done out of love. Not a kumbaya kind of love. Don't get it fooled, but a love for your improvement, America. A love that really does desire for you to do better, America. Not so that I can feel that you love me. I've got enough love for myself. But so that you can be the best you can be. in response to all of your microaggressions and your extreme neo-fascist patriotism and your passive-aggressive white guilt and your patronizing false liberal attempts to understand, or your social policy reforms of hatred that are masked poorly and wrapped up in a transparent blanket of conservative Christianity, I'm coming to inform you in the form of a sermon.
Yes, sir.
I'm in the text.
Help us.
I'm in the text. I'm doing what I'm doing because the instructions I've been given are biblical. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 17. If your brother sins against you, and show him his fault. Just between the two of you, if he listens to you, you have won your brother over. But if he will not listen, take 2 or 3 others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, then take it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. I'm in the text, America. I'm biblically in order. I am in conference with Christian conduct. And I am telling you, America, I am offended. So, this is what you do. This is what the Bible says you're supposed to do when you're offended. When I'm offended, I have to address my offender.
Yes, sir.
Jesus is teaching about the conduct of the community of believers. Jesus has just finished teaching the importance of seeing people as children of God. Jesus has just finished saying that people are to look down on one another and to see each other as creations of God and who we are valued to be and appreciated. But somewhere in the process, there will be infraction. Somewhere along the journey, there's going to be misunderstanding because we're human beings, because we're fallible, because we get emotions twisted and messed up. Mistakes can happen. Feelings can be hurt and offenses can be made. And so Jesus in the 15th verse says, when this happens, if your brother or sister sins against you, go and show them his fault. If the offense has been given, you have the obligation to tell the person what offenses have taken place.
Yes.
Now understand, America, this does 2 things. First, it reinforces that I am a child of God. Okay, this might confuse you, but the instruction is if your brother or sister sins against you, go and show them their fault. The whole idea of coming to your brother or sister is to maintain community. The whole idea is community that we're talking about. This is about a community of faith and how they function. So Jesus is saying, as a child and product of the community, you have the right to let others know when an offense has been made. Some of y'all still ain't getting it. If you weren't a part of the community, then you wouldn't have a say-so in what's happening to you. If you weren't a part of the community, you could not voice your opinion. You would only be allowed to accept what is happening to you. If you weren't a part of the community, then you would not matter because those in your community would not be obligated to do anything different to you. But because you are a child of God, you are a part of the community. Because God has created you in his image, you have the right to speak up and say when you've been wrong. Because you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you have a right to declare that there is an offense that is happening to you, and you don't have to apologize for saying that something needs to change. For far too long, my brothers and sisters, Black people have been saying and believing and feeling like keeping silent is the Christian way. For too long, Black people have misinterpreted the meekness of Christ to mean that we ought to be the punching bag of society and to take unfair treatment instead of change is the plight of Christian belief. We have a voice. God said we are in this community. We are a part of this community. We have a right to speak up and speak when things are not correct. We have to come from this mentality that causes us to believe that change is only possible through God's intervention and our sitting still and patience in our suffering. But change is possible when we realize our humanity and what God has created us to be and how we are supposed to live as children of God. And when something is wrong, the Lord has told you, you need to speak up about it. Yes. Addressing the issue reminds us that we are children of God, worthy of respect and a part of the community. But the second thing it does is it also gives us a sense of self-awareness and self-identity. To self-identify means I recognize my potential. I recognize that no matter what I'm doing, I have to fit and face into the order of things. That when I address what is happening to me, I say I have value, I have worth, even if you can't see it. That's the whole idea about going to your brother or sister. Because sometimes your brother or sister needs to be slowed down and checked. Sometimes your brother and sister needs to be reminded that you're not the only one in the room. Sometimes your brother and sister needs to be made aware that they are the only one in the discussion. Sometimes our brothers and sisters need to be reminded that we have something to say and we have something to contribute and we matter just as much as they do.
Yes, yes.
And I help some of y'all, some things ought to offend you.
Yes.
Some things ought to bother you. Some things you ought to see them as incorrect. But it's not about silencing yourself because you deny who you are and what matters to you. You don't have to apologize for the way you feel. You don't have to apologize for what you think is offensive to you. And the Bible is not telling us to destroy. It's telling us to go directly to the source and declare your offense. See, my argument is you can't project. You have to protect. You cannot project. You have to find ways to protect. See, projection is the process of taking your feelings and directing them in a different area of a person, of an object, or a situation. It is a defense mechanism that causes people not to deal with what they really feel. So I might be angry with you, but I go take it out on somebody else or something else. So a riot, which Martin King is called the language of the unheard, is really a projection. A march is really a projection. A sit-in is really a projection because we're directing our attention, but we're directing it in the wrong way. We be angry and we're directing it in the wrong way. Be angry, be incensed. But the truth of the matter is you have to tell who's offended you that you've been offended. Don't go destroy your own neighborhood because that's projection. You're destroying what belongs to you. You go and tell who's ever offended you that they've done something wrong. When we march in those kinds of ways and we riot, here's the question. What place in a riot has anybody who's watched the riot says, you know, I need to do better? When we join hands and sing, we shall overcome, what person is listening to that saying, you know what, I really need to get my racism fixed? We need to understand that marches and sit-ins and prayer vigils and even riots have their places. But until you look somebody in the face and say, I've been offended by you, until you direct your offense in the direction of somebody or something, it will never be corrected and you will never be well. So you're entitled to speak out. Speak out when you're offended by your offenders. Speak out when you're sexual assailants and declare your offense. Speak out to the chauvinists and the misogynists and declare your offense. Speak out to the physical, mental, and emotional and verbal abusers in your life and declare your offense. Speak out against the racists and the bigots that try to control you and let them know that because I am a child of God and because of who I am, I matter and I have a right to let you know you have offended me.
Help us. Help us.
You address. When I'm offended, I'm supposed to address my offender. But the second thing is, when I'm offended, I'm obligated to work with you on your acceptance. I'm supposed to work with you to help you accept the offense that's been made. I'm in the text, Jesus said, recognize that you are part of this community of faith. Not by accident. Not by the benevolence of those who accepted you. Not even by the prayers of those who waved their hands over you as they traveled you to the shores of America on slave ships. Don't give them the credit. They said you are a part of the community because God has created you. God's image and nothing else needs to matter because you are a child of the King. But Jesus says, if a brother or sister isn't convinced, if they don't think that they've offended you or you haven't persuaded them, bring one or two others in with you to help show them their sin. Jesus is referring to the process in Deuteronomy when it is recommended that you brought 2 or 3 witnesses with you to help the dispute, the process was to find mediation between 2 individuals to get to a healthy resolve. So what this means is that the one who has committed the offense has to be willing to listen to what's being said. If the one who has committed the offense refuses to listen, then perhaps the others who are gathered together can help them see where the offense was committed. Because let's face it, people don't like correction. People don't like to be told they're wrong. People don't like to relive poor decisions and bad mistakes, especially when things seem to be working in their favor. America, you're no different. We know you don't like to admit when you were wrong. We know that you don't like to acknowledge that the transportation of over 30 million African bodies was a horrific thing. We know that saying that American slavery was an atrocity of which the world has never seen does not suit you well. We know that recognizing that you are the only country to drop a nuclear bomb on another country is hard to face. We know that having to tell you that starting wars for economic gain and for profit is despicable is sometimes unnerving to hear. To be reminded that the Tuskegee experiments actually happened by the U.S. government is a hard pill to swallow. That to be reminded that what happened to Native Americans in exile, to Africans in slavery, to Mexicans in migration, to Japanese in concentration camps puts you in a bad light. We know America, but the reality is you have to face it.
That's right.
The problem is, just like in the text, you don't want to hear it. Just like in the text, you don't want to acknowledge it. You turn a deaf ear to the plight of the African Americans and others who have told you consistently that your policies are destructive and they're harmful to humanity. Even as you wave a flag and wrap it around yourself and say with liberty and justice for all. Jesus said, get other witnesses. Bring others together and tell the offender to hear other voices. Listen to others so that you can know where you went wrong. Listen to the cries of other nations as your president calls them S-hole countries. Listen to the minorities who cringe when Mexicans are called rapists and criminals. Look at the images when people who are held in concentration camps at the border and their children are separated and taken from them and scattered all around the country. Hear the disdain and the cause of blatant inequality when a mother who gets 5 years in prison for changing her address so her child can go to another school district, and Felicity Huffman gets 14 days in jail. Hear what the people are telling you, America, because you've chosen not to listen. In fact, not only have you chosen not to listen to America, but you have tried to convince us that it's our fault. You've tried to convince us that we're the problem. Tried to convince us that we are the criminals. We are the ones on welfare, you know. You've tried to convince us that we are the ones who are doing damage to your system. We are the ones who are a threat to your way of life. You're trying to convince us that the picking oranges by immigrants is a threat to your jobs, while corporations are getting bailouts and moving their jobs to different countries for cheap labor. You're trying to convince us that because I was jogging, or because I had a toy gun, or because I was defending my rights on my way to work, or because I was sitting in my house eating ice cream on my couch and didn't identify myself, or because I'm struggling with mental illness, or because I was selling Lucy cigarettes, I deserve what was coming to me. I keep coming to you with different examples, America, but you still keep it going. You still don't listen. You still don't want to believe. You don't want to hear it from me. You don't want to hear it from others. And watch this. You don't even want to hear it from the church. The church has tried to tell you. The church has tried to express to you what Christian conduct looks like. And you've even turned off from that. In fact, you bastardized the message a long time ago. You changed Christianity into a slave lover of capitalism.
Your white supremacist views have infiltrated the minds of so many so-called Christians, both white and black, who have been indoctrinated to believe that black is a curse, and anything that deals with inclusion that does not fit your interpretation or model is incorrect. That multiculturalism means the color of your face and not the tone of your heart. That to be Christian means that you got to hate yourself and love somebody else in order to be accepted. That defining yourself as God made you means that you're a heretic and a lost cause and God doesn't love you. That to be your kind of Christian means that you got to be sorry that God ever made you for being born and despise you for how God made you. And every other idea is abomination, and you're not worthy of being prayed for until you see it my way. Even in the church of America, you have chosen to alter it rather than to listen to it. You've decided that what it means to have to change America, it means it ain't worth it. You have refused acceptance of your own offenses. But regardless of your acceptance, whether or not you accept the fact that there have been offenses on your part or not, I have done my duty. I have done my due diligence. We have tried to connect with you so that you could understand that I matter to this community. We have tried to connect you to get you to understand that it was never just about you, but it was about the lives of the body of faith that made it come together. That the work of the Spirit was to bring those together so that the community could be formed. And the one thing that you can never say is that I denied you a chance to be a part of this community. The one thing you can never say is that I never participated in the process. The one thing you can never say is that we rejected the opportunity for us to work together. You can never say that we worked against the idea of being equals so that we could have respect for one another. I may have been angry with you. I may have been frustrated with you. You might have worn me out sometimes, but we have always been willing to work with you. Your refusal and your acceptance in your doing is not by my hand. And I believe that God will honor us for that faithfulness, America. That God will remember us for trusting in the spirit of community that we tried to build when you yourself made very little effort. I believe that God's going to honor that when we continue to talk about being community, when you yourself won't acknowledge and recognize the offenses that you've made. And so it brings us to the last thing. That when I'm offended, that means I have to address my offender. That when I'm offended, it means that I have to help in your acceptance. But last but not least, when I'm offended, I have to make the decision to make the necessary adjustments for my own well-being. Jesus says, make the effort, take the change, go beyond to make sure that you do your best to show your brother and sister their offense, because you never want it to be said that you didn't try. Here it is. Making the effort shows that you are committed to being community. It says that you're committed to having healthy relationship. You do know there is a difference between having relationship and healthy relationship. You do know that there is something called toxic relationship. And you know the truth of the matter is, America, we've had a toxic relationship with you for the whole time that we've been here. You do know that you can be in relationship and still get hurt. You do know you can be in relationship and still get beaten. You can still get abused all the time. Somebody telling you that they love you. All the time, somebody telling you they're sorry. All the time, somebody telling you it won't happen again. Telling you that this is going to be the last time. Telling you that they're going to do better. But the minute you don't do what they want you to do, it's back to the same old thing. There is a difference between toxic and healthy relationships. America, we believed it for far too long. You told us one thing and said something else. Jesus says if you want a healthy relationship, go to the person who offended you. Let them know. And if they refuse to get some more people, then get some more people. And if they refuse, go to the church. Now, the synagogue was not only the place of worship, but it was the place where discipline was administered. The synagogue was the place where order was established. The synagogue was the final warning of the community. So watch this. Jesus says, if they still don't listen or want to believe what they get from the community, if they still don't want to believe the final warning, treat them as a pagan or a tax collector. You missed it. Jesus said, you tell them. And if they don't want to hear it from you, then get some people to tell them. And if they don't want to hear it from them, then get the faith community to tell them. And if they still don't want to hear it, treat them like you would a pagan or a tax collector. Some of y'all still ain't get it. If their offender doesn't want to have reconciliation with you, with others, or with the faith community, then they don't want to be in relationship. If it takes you, a group of others, and the faith community, and they still don't want to reconcile, then face the reality they don't want to be in relationship with you. I know that hurt and messes some of you squeaky clean Christians right on up. But the reality is, if they don't want to acknowledge the offense after everybody has told them that it was an offense, it means their ego and their self-esteem means more to them than their community. And if what they want means more than community, then they will ultimately be dangerous to the community. So don't keep entertaining the madness. Treat them like you would a pagan or a tax collector. What does that mean? A pagan was somebody who had a different faith than the Jews. Not necessarily no faith, but a different faith system. And a tax collector was considered somebody who worked in conjunction and in connection and represented the oppressive system of the Roman Empire. So Jesus says, treat them like you would treat those people who have no interest in your well-being, those people who have no concern for your good. Treat them like those people who have no interest for you doing well.
Oh, watch this. It doesn't mean that you'll never deal with them. It means you got to deal with them as you need to, without emotional investment and expecting anything better from them. You can love them, but you love them from a distance. You love them with a sense of understanding their human dignity. They're human beings, so you love them in the sense of their humanity, but you don't love them in the sense of your own personal well-being. I know it's messing some of y'all up. I know that you're disturbed by this America. But the truth is, I'm in the Bible. I'm in the text. If you're choosing to make the decision not to be in relationship, then we will be in relationship with people who want to be in relationship with us. That's not hatred. That's self-love. That's not hatred. That's self-preservation. That's not being no Christian. That's being pro-Christian. God did not make me or create me to be destroyed by you when you decide. And there's a community that has love for me when you don't have any love for me. This ain't about other cheeks. This is about loving my neighbor as I love myself. My boy William Lamar IV said, there comes a time when being nice is the worst kind of violence. It's a time that somebody told the truth about these offenses, and it's a time when we recognize that enough is enough. You don't want to be our neighbor? Then you don't want our dollars in your malls. You don't want to be our neighbor? Then you don't want our votes when it's time for elections. You don't want to be our neighbor? Then you don't want our economic power that fuels and funds the majority of your projects. You don't want to be our neighbor? Then we can make our own clothes and we don't need our Ralph Lauren on our back. You don't want to be our neighbor and uphold the law, then we'll create and vote politicians that are playing and not playing with our lives, no matter what color they look like. You don't want to be our neighbor. We have the mind to create our own space, to create our own commerce, to create our own business. You don't want to be our neighbor, then don't ask us to speak at your Martin King lunches and your junior events so you can feel better about your privilege. We taking care of our own right now. Now admit, America, we got some work to do. I'll admit, America, we got some challenges. We got to get ourselves together. I recognize that we do do have to change our own minds and do believe that we can do it, that we can create it. We don't have to rely on depending on anybody else. We went further in this country when you didn't include us before, and we can do the same thing again. The mighty Most Def in his song, Mathematics said, why did the straw break the camel's back? Here's the secret, there's a million other straws underneath it. We're offended. We're not just tired, we're offended. We're not just hurt, we're offended. We're not just upset, we're offended. We're not just enraged, we're offended. And we're telling you, we sent the message. We're telling you, we've done our best by you. We're telling you, we understand what you're saying, America. We heard you loud and clear, and we will treat you like you don't want to be bothered. We will treat you like our lives matter, even if you don't think so. We'll treat you like God has something for us to say, and we will let you know that you have offended us. We can still love you, but you can get it from a distance. We can still help you, but it's not at the expense of our lives and our dignity. We can still pray for you, but not at the expense of our own salvation. We can still share with you, but not at the risk of our own safety. You can't keep peeing on our heads talking about this rain. You can't keep changing the rules and then blaming us that we don't know how to play the game. We're not playing the game anymore. We're going to rewrite the rules. In America, before you shrug your shoulders and look around, like, what did you do? Before you act and pretend to be innocent, before you suggest that this is an overreaction, we just want you to know, this is the way you wanted it. We tried to tell you. We tried to show you in several different ways. We tried to let you know, even to the point of death, but you still didn't get the message. But we still won't move forward America. We still won't build America because we have an example. That's right, we got an example. Anybody who gave it all like our example. Everybody who understood what was most important, who laid it all on the line. We have an example. Another one who gave it all that he had. Another one who tried to tell you, but y'all didn't want to listen. Another one who said he was doing the best he could, and somebody tried to act like they didn't know what he was talking about. Another one who was faithful up until the point of death, and they still didn't want to hear him. They still didn't want to believe it. They still didn't want to trust it. They still did not want to recognize the offense. But God, the righteous judge, had the final say and had the last word. And even when others did not want to admit their offense, God still raised up our example with all power in his hands. And he declared that as I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Despite the offense, God still knows how to show up. Despite the offense, God is still creating new life. And we want to let you know, America, you're looking at new life right here. We want to let you know, America, this new life breathed into this thing right here. You're looking at it right now. This new life you're looking at, regardless of your offense, that God is still working out for the good.
Unto God for all that God has done and said in this place. And so we want to make an appeal to you right now. You may want to become more connected to the New Calvary Baptist Church. You may want to be more connected to the God that is mindful of our situation, the God that is concerned about what it is that we're facing. We want you to know right now, you can call in, you can type into the feed your desire to be connected to the New Calvary Baptist Church. We want you to be able to be a part of the ministry that's going forward in this place. If you choose to make that be your request at this time, type it into the comment section or you may call the New Calvary Baptist Church during the week at 757-627-1269. Again, that's 757-627-1269. Pastor Small would love to be your pastor. We would love to be your church home, because we here are doing church and religion differently. We here are unashamedly Black and unapologetic Christian, and we are that because God deemed it so. And we are able to serve God in spirit and in truth. And we want you to be a part of the New Calvary Baptist Church, because we believe that we are called to this place according to God's purpose for such a time as this. We want you to know that we love you. We want you to know that we care about you. Be reminded of those things that we've been talking about the day before the worship experience, and know that we are praying for you. We miss you. We love you here at the New Calvary Baptist Church, and we want you to thrive even in this season. To God be the glory. Now unto him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before his presence with exceeding joy. To the only wise God be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now, henceforth, and forever. We ask and declare right now that you go in peace, not pieces. To God be the glory. God bless you. Please make sure that you share. Please make sure that you like. Please make sure that you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And we ask that you continue to give to the ministry here at the New Calvary Baptist Church, whether you are a member through your tithes and your offerings, or whether you are a person that's just being blessed by the ministry on Facebook Live and you just want to donate. Make New Calvary your favorite place to give on Givelify, or you can mail your tithes and offerings to 800 East Virginia Beach Boulevard, Norfolk, Virginia 23504. To God be the glory. And remember, beloved, there will be glory after this. God bless you.